Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. And this may be the only place where you can get Srila Prabhupada's books read straight to you for at least an hour, every single day, 365 days a year, except when I'm on a long-haul flight, which is getting less and less over time. So welcome back, welcome home, and welcome to all of you out there in cyberspace. Please share this nectar. It's special. We're going to read like we always do every day in order to sanctify the atmosphere and prepare our hearts and our minds and help us to go deeper into the Bhagavatam. To hear deeply is very, very important. The hearing process is done with the heart. It's not intellectual, it's not just in the mind, it has to go to the heart, the sound. And in order to do that, the mind has to be full of faith and without argument. Not that we don't question, we want to question, but we don't challenge and argue. If we want that sound to go deep to the heart, to the soul, and awaken the soul's relationship with Krishna. That's the purpose of hearing the Srimad-Bhagavatam every day. And every day is important because so many devotees in this movement have stopped reading Srila Prabhupada's books regularly. And time is so powerful. Time is also Krishna. Apavanamcha, Krishna says. Sarva shachaham hridi sanavishtam matta smritir jnanam apavanamcha. He's in the heart. That's a super soul. And he gives knowledge, remembrance, and causes us to forget. That's time. Over time, Krishna puts everything that we contact, everything that we do, think, feel, smell, will, whatever, time puts it into the past. So whatever we're going through, just sit down and hear the Bhagavatam. One time Srila Prabhupada told us personally, I was in the room, he said, whenever you're in anxiety about anything, just pick up one of my books and start to read it. And immediately you'll become free from that anxiety and in the right state, in the right consciousness. Okay, so to help us remember that and go deeper into this lovely state that Srila Prabhupada has given us, we're going to read Sanatana Goswami's prayer glorifying the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And it goes like this. Sarva Shashabdipi Yusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad-Bhagavata Prabho Kali Dvandoditaditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad-Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours on a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Man Nistadaga Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadhu tadayin adini chochitakara hanamunchagadachin mam premna ritkantayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So here we are at the 6th canto, 4th chapter, the Hamsa-guhya Prayers. These are the prayers offered by Daksha to Lord Krishna, to Vishnu. Beginning with text 32. There are two parties, namely the theists and the atheists. The theist, who accepts the Supersoul, finds the spiritual cause through mystic yoga. The Sankhyaite, however, who merely analyzes the material elements, comes to a conclusion of impersonalism and does not accept a supreme cause, whether Bhagavan, Paramatma, or even Brahman. Instead, he is preoccupied with the superfluous, external activities of material nature. Ultimately, however, both parties demonstrate the absolute truth because although they offer opposing statements, their object is the same, ultimate cause. They are both approaching the same Supreme Brahman, to whom I offer my respectful obeisances. Purport. Actually, there are two sides to this argument. Some say that the Absolute has no form, nirakara, and others say that the Absolute has a form, sakara. Therefore, the word form is the common factor. Although some accept it, asti or astika, whereas others try to negate it, nasti or nastika. Since the devotee considers the word form, akara, the common factor for both, he offers his respectful obeisances to the form, although others may go on arguing about whether the Absolute has form or not. In this verse, the word yoga sankhya yo is very important. Yoga means bhakti yoga, because yogis also accept the existence of the all-pervading Supreme Soul and try to see that Supreme Soul within their hearts. As stated in Srimad-Bhagavatam 12.13.1, dhyana vasti tatadgatena manasa pashyanti yam yoginaha. The devotee tries to come directly in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whereas the yogi tries to find the Supersoul within the heart by meditation. Thus, both directly and indirectly, yoga means bhakti yoga. Sankhya, however, means physical study of the cosmic situation through speculative knowledge. This is generally known as Jnana Shastra. The Sankhyites are attached to the impersonal Brahman, but the Absolute Truth is known in three ways: Brahmiti, Paramatmiti, Bhagavan, iti Shabhyate. The Absolute Truth is one, but some accept him as impersonal, Brahman, some as the Supersoul, existing everywhere, and some as Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The central point is the Absolute Truth. Although the impersonalist and personalist fight with one another, they focus upon the same Parabrahman, the same Absolute Truth. In the Yoga Shastras, Krishna is described as follows: Krishnam Pishangam Baram Ambujekshanam Chaturbhujam Sankhya Gadat Yudayudam. Thus, the pleasing appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's bodily features, his limbs and his dress are described. The Sankhya Shastra, however, denies the existence of the Lord's transcendental form. The Sankhya Shastra says that the Supreme Absolute Truth has no hands, no legs, and no name. Yanama, Rupa Guna Pani Padam, Achakshur, Ashrotram Ekam, Advitiya, Apinama Rupadikam Nasti. The Vedic mantras say, Apani Pado Javano Grahita. The Supreme Lord has no legs and hands, but he can accept whatever is offered to him. Actually, such statements accept that the Supreme has hands and legs, but deny that he has material hands and legs. This is why the Absolute is called Aprakrita. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has a Satchidananda, Vigraha, a form of eternity, knowledge, and bliss, not a material form. The Sankhyas or Jnanis deny the material form, and the devotees also know very well that the Absolute Truth, Bhagavan, has no material form. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme controller. He has an eternal, blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, for he is the prime cause of all causes. The conception of the Absolute without hands and legs and the conception of the Absolute with hands and legs are apparently contradictory, but they both coincide with the same truth about the Supreme Absolute Person. Therefore, the word vastu nishchayo, which is used herein, indicates that both the yogis and Sankhyaites have faith in the reality, but are arguing about it from the different viewpoints of material and spiritual identities. Parabrahman, or Brihat, is the common point. The Sankhyaites and yogis are both situated in that same Brahman, but they differ because of different angles of vision. The directions given by the Bhakti Shastra point one in the perfect direction, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktya mam abhijanati. Only by devotional service am I to be known. The Bhaktas know that the Supreme Person has no material form, whereas the Jnanis simply deny the material form. One should therefore take shelter of the Bhakti Marg, the path of devotion. Then everything will be clear. Jnanis concentrate on the Virat Rupa, the gigantic universal form of the Lord. This is a good system in the beginning for those who are extremely materialistic. But there is no need to think continuously of the Virat Rupa. When Arjuna was shown the Virat Rupa of Krishna, he saw it, but he did not want to see it perpetually. He therefore requested the Lord to return to his original form as two-armed Krishna. In conclusion, learned scholars find no contradictions in the devotee's concentration upon the spiritual form of the Lord. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. In this regard, Srila Madhvacharya says that less intelligent non-devotees think their conclusion is the ultimate, but because devotees are completely learned, they can understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal. So, when we get into our mind and our mind's swirling and we're thinking so many things, we're actually just meditating on the universal form. Because it's just the material energy. We're just playing with the material energy. Text 33. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is inconceivably opulent, who is devoid of all material names, forms, and pastimes, and who is all-pervading, is especially merciful to the devotees who worship his lotus feet. Thus, he exhibits transcendental forms and names with his different pastimes. May that Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose form is eternal and full of knowledge and bliss, be merciful to me. Purport. In regard to the significant word Anama Rupa, Srila Sridhar Swami says, Prakrita Nama Rupa Rahito Pi. The word Anama, which means having no name, simply but indicates that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has no material name. Simply by chanting the name of Narayana to call his son, Ajamil attained salvation. This means that Narayana is not an ordinary mundane name. It is non-material. The word Anama therefore indicates that the names of the Supreme Lord do not belong to the material world, to this material world. The vibration of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is not a material sound. And similarly, the form of the Lord and his appearance and activities are all non-material. To show his causeless mercy to the devotees, as well as to the non-devotees, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appears in the material world with names, forms, and pastimes, all of which are transcendental. Unintelligent men who cannot understand this think that these names, forms, and pastimes are material, and therefore they deny that he has a name or a form. Considered with scrutiny, the conclusion of non-devotees who say that God has no form, and that of devotees who know that his name is not material, are practically the same. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no material name, form, birth, appearance, or disappearance, but nevertheless, he takes his birth, janma, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 4:6. Ajopi san avyayatma, bhutanam ishvaropi san, prakritim swam adishtaya, sambhavam yatmamayaya. Although the Lord is unborn, aja, his body never undergoes material changes. He nevertheless appears as an incarnation, maintaining himself always in the transcendental stage, Shuddha-sattva. Thus he exhibits his transcendental forms, names, and activities. This is his special mercy toward his devotees. Others may continue merely arguing about whether the Absolute Truth has form or not, but when a devotee, by the grace of the Lord, sees the Lord personally, he becomes spiritually ecstatic. Unintelligent persons say that the Lord does nothing. Actually, he has nothing to do. But nevertheless, he has to do everything. Because without his sanction, no one can do anything. The unintelligent, however, cannot see how he is working and how the entire material nature is working under his direction. His different potencies work perfectly. Natasya karyam karanam navidyate, natat shamas chabhyatikas chadrishyate, parasya shaktir vividai vishruyate, swabhaviki jnanabala kriyacha. Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6:8. He has nothing to do personally, for since his potencies are perfect, everything is immediately done by his will. Persons to whom the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not revealed cannot see how he is working, and therefore they think that even if there is God, he has nothing to do or has no particular name. Actually, the Lord's name already exists because of his transcendental activities. The Lord is sometimes called Guna Karma Nama because he is named according to his transcendental activities. For example, Krishna means all attractive. This is the Lord's name because his transcendental qualities make him very attractive. As a small boy, he lifted Govardhan Hill, and in his childhood he killed many demons. Such activities are very attractive, and therefore he is sometimes called Giridhari, Madhusudana, Aganisrujana, and so on. Because he acted as the son of Nanda Maharaj, he is called Nanda Tanuja. These names already exist, but since non-devotees cannot understand the names of the Lord, he is sometimes called Anama, or nameless. This means that he has no material names. All his activities are spiritual, and therefore he has spiritual names. Generally, less intelligent men are under the impression that the Lord has no form. Therefore, he appears in his original form as Krishna, Satchidananda, Vigraha, to carry out his mission of participating in the battle of Kurukshetra and pastimes to protect the devotees and vanquish the demons. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadushkritam. This is his mercy. For those who think that he has no form and no work to do, Krishna comes to show that indeed he works. He works so gloriously that no one else can perform such uncommon acts. Although he appeared as a human being, he married 16,108 wives, which is impossible for a human being to do. The Lord performs such activities to show people how great he is, how affectionate he is, and how merciful he is. Although his original name is Krishna, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, he acts in unlimited ways, and therefore, according to his work, he has many, many thousands of names. Text 34. As the air carries various characteristics of the physical elements, like the aroma of a flower or colors resulting from a mixture of dust in the air, the Lord appears through lower systems of worship according to one's desires, although he appears as the demigods and not in his original form. What is the use of these other forms? May the original Supreme Personality of Godhead please fulfill my desires. Purport. The impersonalists imagine the various demigods to be forms of the Lord. For example, the Mayavadis worship 5 demigods, Panchopasana. They do not actually believe in the form of the Lord, but for the sake of worship, they imagine some form to be God. Generally, they imagine a form of Vishnu, a form of Shiva, and forms of Ganesh, the sun god, and Durga. This is called Panchopasana. Daksha, however, wanted to worship not an imaginary form, but the supreme form of Lord Krishna. In this regard, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes the difference between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and an ordinary living being. As pointed out in a previous verse, Sarvam Puman Vedagunam Chachajgyo Naveda Sarvagyam Anantamide. The omnipotent Supreme Lord knows everything, but the living being does not actually know the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I know everything, but no one knows me. This is the difference between the Supreme Lord and an ordinary living being. In a prayer in Srimad-Bhagavatam, Queen Kunti says, My dear Lord, You exist inside and outside, yet no one can see you. The conditioned soul cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by speculative knowledge or by imagination. One must therefore know the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He reveals himself, but he cannot be understood by speculation. As stated in Srimad-Bhagavatam 10:14-29, Atapi te devapadam bhujadvayam prasada lesha nugrahita eva hi janani tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachanya eko pichidam bichinvan. My Lord, if one is favored by even a slight trace of your mercy, of your lotus feet, my Lord, if one is favored by even a slight trace of the mercy of your lotus feet, he can understand the greatness of your personality. But those who speculate to understand you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are unable to know you, even though they continue to study the Vedas for many years. This is the verdict of the Shastra. An ordinary man may be a great philosopher and may speculate upon what the absolute truth is, what his form is, where he is existing, but he cannot understand these truths. Sevan mukhe hijivado swayameva spuratyadaha. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead only through devotional service. This is also explained by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself in Bhagavad Gita 18:55. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanyas chasmi tatpataha. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is only by devotional service. Unintelligent persons want to imagine or concoct a form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but devotees want to worship the actual Personality of Godhead. Therefore Daksha prays, one may think of you as personal, impersonal, or imaginary, but I wish to pray to your Lordship that you fulfill my desires to see you as you actually are. Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur comments that this verse is especially meant for the impersonalist who thinks that he himself is the Supreme, because there is no difference between the living being and God. The Mayavadi philosopher thinks that there is only one Supreme Truth and that he is also that Supreme Truth. Whoa. Actually, this is not knowledge, but foolishness. And this verse is especially meant for such fools whose knowledge has been stolen by illusion. Maya ya parita jnana. Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur says that such persons, jnani manina, think themselves very advanced, but actually they are unintelligent. In regard to this verse, Srila Madhvacharya says, Swadehastam harim prahur adama jivam eva tu madhyamash chapyanirnitam jivad binam janardanam. There are three classes of men. The lowest, adama, those in the middle, madhyama, and the best, uttama. The lowest, adama, think that there is no difference between God and the living entity, except that the living entity is under designations, whereas the Absolute Truth has no designations. In their opinion, as soon as the designations of the material world are dissolved, the jiva, the living entity, will mix with the Supreme. They give the argument of gata kasha pita kasha, in which the body is compared to a pot with the sky within and the sky without. When the pot breaks, the sky inside becomes one with the sky outside. And so the impersonalists say that the living being becomes one with the Supreme. This is their argument. But Srila Madhvacharya says that such an argument is put forward by the lowest class of men. Another class of men cannot ascertain what the actual form of the Supreme is, but they agree that there is a Supreme who controls the activities of the living being, the ordinary living being. Such philosophers are accepted as mediocre. The best, however, are those who understand the Supreme Lord, Satchidananda Vigraha, Purnanandari Gunakam, Sarvajiva Valakshanam. His form is completely spiritual, full of bliss, and completely distinct from that of the conditioned soul or any other living entity. Uttamas tu harim prahus taratamyena teshu cha. Such philosophers are the best because they know that the Supreme Personality of Godhead reveals himself differently to worshippers in different modes of material nature. They know that there are 33 million demigods just to conceive the conditioned soul, that there is a Supreme, they know that there are 33 million demigods just to convince the conditioned soul that there is a supreme power, and to induce him to agree to worship one of these demigods, so that by the association of devotees, he may be able to understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Matak Paratanam Nanyat Kinchidasti Dhananjaya. There is no truth superior to me. There is no truth superior to who?
Me.
Me is who?
Krishna.
Just testing. See if everybody's awake still. See if the mind's still here with us. Aham adir hidevanam. I am the origin of all the demigods. Aham sarvasya prabhava. I am superior to everyone, even Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the other demigods. These are the conclusions of the Shastra, and one who accepts these conclusions should be considered a first-class philosopher. Such a philosopher knows that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Lord of the demigods, Devadeshwaram, Devadeveshwaram Sutram Anandam Prana Vedina. Texts 35 to 39. Srila Shukadev Goswami said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who is supremely affectionate to his devotees, was very pleased by the prayers offered by Daksha. And thus he appeared at that holy place known as Agamarshana. O Maharaj Parikshit, best of the Kuru dynasty, the Lord's lotus feet rested on the shoulders of his carrier, Garuda, and he appeared with 8 long, mighty, very beautiful arms. In his hands he held a disc, conch shell, sword, shield, arrow, bow, rope, and club. In each hand a different weapon, all brilliantly shining. His garments were yellow, and his bodily hue was deep bluish. His eyes and face were very cheerful, and from his neck to his feet hung a long garland of flowers. His chest was decorated with the Kaustuba jewel and the mark of Srivats. On his head was a gorgeous round helmet, and his ears were decorated with earrings resembling sharks. All these ornaments were uncommonly beautiful. The Lord wore a golden belt on his waist, bracelets on his arms, rings on his fingers, and ankle bells on his feet. Thus decorated by various ornaments, Lord Hari, who is attractive to all the living entities of the 3 worlds, is known as Purushottama, the best personality. He was accompanied by great devotees like Narada, Nanda, and all the principal demigods, led by the heavenly king Indra and the residents of various upper planetary systems, such as Siddhaloka, Gandharvaloka. These devotees offered Charnaloka and Charnaloka. Situated on both sides of the Lord and behind him as well, these devotees offered him prayers continuously. Text 40. Seeing that wonderful and effulgent form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Prajapati Daksha was first somewhat afraid. But then he was very pleased to see the Lord, and he fell down to the ground like a stick, dandavat, to offer his respect to the Lord. 41. As rivers are filled with water flowing from a mountain, all of Daksha's senses were filled with pleasure. Because of his highly elevated happiness, Daksha could not say anything, but simply remained flat on the ground. Purport. When one actually realizes or sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is filled with complete happiness. For example, when Dhruva Maharaj saw the Lord in his presence, he said, Swamin kritartos mi varam nayache. My dear Lord, I have nothing to ask from you. Now I am completely satisfied. Similarly, when Prajapati Daksha saw the Supreme Lord in his presence, he simply fell flat, unable to speak or ask him for anything. Text 42. Although Prajapati Daksha could not say anything, when the Lord, who knows everyone's heart, saw his devotee prostrate in that manner, and desiring to increase the population, he addressed him as follows. Text 43. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O most fortunate Prachetasa, because of your great faith in me, you have attained the supreme devotional ecstasy. Indeed, because of your austerities, combined with exalted devotion, your life is now successful. You have achieved complete perfection. Purport. As the Lord himself confirms in Bhagavad Gita 8:15, one reaches the highest perfection when he attains the fortune of realizing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mam upetya punarjanma dukalayam ashasvatam napnuvanti mahatmana sangsiddhim paramam gataha. After attaining me, the great souls, who were yogis in devotion, never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement teaches one to follow the path toward the topmost perfection simply by performing devotional service. Text 44. My dear Prajapati Daksha, you have performed extreme austerities for the welfare and growth of the world. My desire also is that everyone within this world be happy. I am therefore very pleased with you because you are endeavoring to fulfill my desire for the welfare of the entire world. My desire also is that everyone within this world be what? Oh, some of you missed it. We'll try it again. I am therefore very pleased. My desire also is that everyone within this world be happy. Purport. After every dissolution of the material cosmos, all the living entities take shelter in the body of Karnodakashayi Vishnu. And when creation takes place again, they come forth from his body in their various species to resume their activities. Why does the creation take place in such a way that the living entities are put into conditioned life to suffer the threefold miseries imposed upon them by the material nature? Here the Lord says to Daksha, you desire to benefit all living entities, and that is also my desire. The living entities who come in contact with the material world are meant to be corrected. All the living entities within this material world have revolted against the service of the Lord, and therefore they remain within this material world as ever-conditioned, nitya-baddha, taking birth again and again. There is a chance, of course, of their being liberated, but nevertheless, the conditioned souls, not taking advantage of this opportunity, continue a life of sense enjoyment, and thus they are punished by birth and death again and again. This is the law of nature. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 7:14, Daivi yesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mameva ye prapadyante mayametam tarantite. This divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Elsewhere in the Bhagavad Gita 15:7, the Lord says, Mamaivangsho jivaloke jivabhutak sanatanaha manak shastranindriyani prakriti-stani karshati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. The living entity's struggle for existence within the material world is due to his rebellious nature. Unless the living entity surrenders to Krishna, he must continue this life of struggle. The Krishna consciousness movement is not a fad. The Krishna consciousness movement is not a what?
Fad.
Okay, you got that one. It is a bona fide movement intended to promote the welfare of all conditioned souls by trying to elevate everyone to the platform of Krishna consciousness. If one does not come to this platform, he must continue in material existence perpetually, sometimes in the upper planets and sometimes in the lower planets. As confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 20, 118. Kabu Svargi Utaya, Kabu Narake Dubaya. The conditioned soul sometimes descends into nations and sometimes gets relief by being relatively freed from it. This is the life of the conditioned soul. Prajapati Daksha is trying to benefit the conditioned souls by begetting them, to give them a life with a chance for liberation. Liberation means surrender to Krishna. If one begets children with the purpose of training them to surrender to Krishna, fatherhood is very good. Similarly, when the spiritual master trains the conditioned souls to become Krishna conscious, his position is successful. If one gives the conditioned souls a chance to become Krishna conscious, all his activities are approved by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is extremely pleased, as stated here, Prito Ham. Following the examples of the previous acharyas, all the members, I'll repeat that again, all the members of the Krishna consciousness movement should try to benefit the conditioned souls by inducing them to become Krishna conscious and giving them all facilities to do so. Such activities constitute real welfare work. By such activities, a preacher or anyone who endeavors to spread Krishna consciousness is recognized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As the Lord Himself confirms in Bhagavad Gita 18:68 and 69, Ya idam paramam guhyam mad bhakte shabidasyati bhaktim mai param kritva mam evaishat yasangshyaha nachatasman manusheshu kaschin me priyakritamaha babita nachame tasmat anyak priyataro bhuvi. For one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, devotional service is guaranteed. And at the end, he will come back to me. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Text 45. Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, the Manus, and all the other demigods in the higher planetary systems, and you Prajapatis, who are increasing the population, are working for the benefit of all living entities. Thus, you expansions, oh, yes, you're right. I was going to say that's wrong, but it's right. Thus, you expansions of my material energy are incarnations of my various qualities. Purport. There are various types of incarnations or expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The expansions of his personal self, or Vishnu Tattva, are called Swangsha expansions, whereas the living entities, who are not Vishnu Tattva, but Jiva Tattva, are called Vibhinangsha, separated expansions. Although Prajapati Daksha is not on the same level as Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, he is compared to them because he engages in the service of the Lord. In the service of the personality of Godhead, it is not that Lord Brahma is considered very great while an ordinary human being trying to preach the glories of the Lord is considered very low. There are no such distinctions. Regardless of whether materially high or materially low, anyone engaged in the service of the Lord is spiritually very dear to him. In this regard, Srila Madhvacharya gives a quotation from the Tantra Nirnaya. Vishesha Bhyakti Patradvad Brahmadyas Tubhibhutayaha Tat Antayaminash Chaiva Matsyadya Vibhavak Smitaha. From Lord Brahma down, all the living entities engaged in the service of the Lord are extraordinary and are called Vibhuti. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 10:41, Yad Yad Vibhutimat Satvam Srimad Urjitameva Tat Tadevat Kadachchat Eva Vagachchat Tvam Mamate Jong Shasam Bhavan. Know that all beautiful, glorious, and mighty creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. A living entity especially empowered to act on behalf of the Lord is called Vibhuti, whereas the Vishnu Tattva incarnations of the Lord, such as the Matsya Avatar, Keshavadrita, Meena Sharira, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, are called Vibhava. 46. My dear Brahmana, austerity in the form of meditation is my heart. My dear Brahmana, austerity in the form of meditation is what?
My heart.
Vedic knowledge in the form of hymns and mantras constitutes my body. Vedic knowledge in the form of hymns and mantras constitute what?
My body.
Very interesting. And spiritual activities and ecstatic emotions are my actual form. Spiritual activities and ecstatic emotions are what? The ritualistic ceremonies and sacrifices, when properly conducted, are the various limbs of my body. The unseen good fortune proceeding from pious or spiritual activities constitutes my mind, and the demigods who execute my orders in various departments are my life and soul. Purport. Sometimes atheists argue that since God is invisible to their eyes, they do not believe in God. For them, the Supreme Lord is describing a method by which one can see God in his impersonal form. Intelligent persons can see God in His personal form, as stated in Shastra. But if one is very eager to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead immediately face to face, he can see the Supreme Lord through this description, which portrays the various internal and external parts of his body. To engage in tapasya, or denial of material activities, is the first principle of spiritual life. Then there are spiritual activities, such as the performance of Vedic ritualistic sacrifices, study of Vedic knowledge, meditation upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. One should also respect the demigods and understand how they are situated, how they act, and how they manage the activities of the various departments of this material world. In this way, one can see how God is existing and how everything is managed perfectly because of the presence of the Supreme Lord. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 9:10, Maya yakchena prakriti suyate sachadacharam hetunan inakonteya jagad viparivartate. This material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and it is producing all moving and non-moving beings. By its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. If one is unable to see the Supreme Lord, although He is present as Krishna in His various incarnations, one may see the Supreme Lord's impersonal feature, according to the direction of the Vedas, by seeing the activities of material nature. Anything done under the direction of the Vedic injunctions is called dharma, as described by the order carriers of Yamaraj. Bhagavatam 6.140. Veda pranihito dharmo yadharmas tad viparyayaha vedo narayanak sakshat swayambur iti shushuma. That which is prescribed in the Vedas constitutes dharma, the religious principles, and the opposite of that is irreligion. The Vedas are directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, and are self-born. This we have heard from Yamaraj. In this connection, Srila Madhvacharya comments, Tapo binani rudrastu Vishnur hridayamashvitaha vidya rupa tataivoma Vishnus tanum upashrita Shringarad yaki arkriti gata kriyatma pakashashanaha Angishu kadavak sarve madhyadehe chidharmarat Prano vayus chito gato ramadyak sweshu devataha. The various demigods are all acting under the protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and according to their various actions, the demigods are differently named. And we'll end our reading there tonight. Hare Krishna. That was a mouthful, a mindful, a heartful. Dare I ask? You said you had a lot of questions. Were some of them just answered by that reading?
Yes, sir. Okay. Thanks for the reading today. Here's one question I have. With regards to devotional service of Krishna, is it right to offer devotional service to people? Like in the part of the readings today, it says there are three classes of men. the first class believe they are Krishna themselves, that they are God. The second class know that there's a God, that Krishna exists, but they haven't actively sought him out. And the third class of men, which is the highest class of men, know that Krishna controls everything, and they're engaged in devotional service, and they exist with this consciousness. So my question to you today would be, is it right for a Krishna conscious person to offer devotional service to the lowest class of men, that the atheists, pretty much?
Well, the three classes of men the atheist wasn't included in the three classes of devotees. There were two classes, atheists and theists.
Yeah.
There were two, you're mixing two things. But anyway, the fact is that the soul is a devotee of Krishna.
Every soul?
Eternally, every soul. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sabub Kabanoi. Inside the heart of every living being is soul. And the soul's original consciousness is Krishna consciousness, pure love of Krishna. But that consciousness becomes covered when it comes into the material world. And the degree of the covering is determined by the nature of the covering. There's three natures of material covering: ignorance, passion, and goodness. So one is covered by ignorance, he can't see things properly. When one is covered by passion, he becomes very active and very intensely engaged in doing something, getting something done, producing something, creating something. And when one is in goodness, then he sees things more clearly, and he wants to find out more about who he is beyond the material body. So if we learn to live in goodness, then we can search out the supreme absolute truth. And of those who are doing that, those who are just beginning, who may conceive of there being a supreme, but from a distance can just see a little bit, the light. There's lots of talk about going to the light. That light is the effulgence coming from the body of Krishna. It's his aura, actually. We have an aura also, but we're little tiny, so our little auras are like, we're lucky if we get outside of this body. We have a little aura. Some big people maybe have bigger auras, but Krishna, his aura is everything.
Thank you, sir.
So if we're getting closer to Krishna, and if we started to understand, hey, something's going on inside here, I'm getting some direction that's beyond me. I mean, all these things are going on inside of me, digestion and growth and hair growing and this happening, that happening, and I don't have much to do with that at all. I put it in the mouth and chew it, and that's it. Everything's going on, and I don't know what's going on, but it's going on. Then we may think, how is that going on? There must be some direction going on there, because I'm not doing it. Somebody must be doing it. And then you look outside of the world, and you see the sun coming up at the same time. The trees are coming out of just a few days ago, there were not a leaf on a tree. And all of a sudden, boom, all the leaves come out of the trees at the same time. Whoa, how's that going on? I definitely didn't have anything to do with that. But somebody's doing it, something's doing it. So then one goes a little deeper and tries to, localize the thing. And then if one gets more familiar with God, by associating with devotees of God, and by associating with God, and hearing from God submissively about himself, because what we are going to know by trying to figure out all those things by ourselves, it's useless. It's impossible for us to understand God completely. But if we start to associate with Krishna's devotees, and we start associating with Krishna's deity, and these holy scriptures that are given to us by Krishna. It says in one of the things we just heard, it's the breathing of Krishna. Actually, the Vedas are eternally co-eternal with Krishna. They're emanating from Krishna, but they're co-eternal with Krishna. There's never a time when the Vedas didn't exist. So when we start to associate with the Vedas under proper guidance and associate with those who are associating and following the Vedas and can teach us and show us and inspire us to live in that way, then Krishna, when he becomes pleased, he'll reveal himself to you. And then you can understand that the source of everything, including the effulgent light, including the localized Paramatma and the super soul and the atoms that are making everything work and happen, is Bhagavan Sri Krishna.
So with that analogy, would it be right to say everything here and everyone existing here right now, all of this is Krishna?
It's Krishna and it's not Krishna. If you think it's Krishna, then you'll make the mistake of worshipping anything and everyone and start to worship this or my toe or the shoes or this or that. You don't get the same effect, you don't get the same result by just worshipping everything, anything. This is Krishna's external energy, and by his will, although it's him in the sense that it's his energy, it's coming from him, and therefore it's not different from him, just like the light and heat coming from a fire are not different than the fire. But at the same time, we talk about the light and the heat as being separate things. But the fire, the light, and the heat are actually one unit, one thing. So like that, God is the source of everything, and at the same time, he is everything as his energy. Maya tatamidang sarvam jagat avyakta murtiya. By his impersonal feature, he's expanded everywhere, and he is everything. Nachamatstani bhutani pashyame yogameshwaram. But at the same time, he's not everything, and pashyame yogameshwaram means it requires vision. It requires a different vision to see that. That vision is attained by hearing transcendental knowledge and assimilating it into our character, practicing to act as if we're devotees, even if we're not yet pure devotees. And in that way we move gradually closer to Krishna. And when we get close enough and intimate enough, then Krishna will reveal himself and everything about him. Then you become ecstatic. And the rest of all leading up to that is just some degree of temporary or what's the word? Dim perception of it.
Thank you, sir.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I have another question. I'm sorry. I just have so much questions.
Hey, you're making our day. Come on, you're making our day. Go ahead.
You know, this is something that's always just baffled me. You know, this question I'm about to ask. It relates to incarnations. Why is it that some people are reincarnated into a society or a kind of family or a country that could perhaps be more Krishna conscious than other societies or places, if Krishna equally wants everyone to come to his consciousness and come back to him?
There's something called group karma. You know what karma is?
Yes, sir.
So karma means action, and the effect of karma is reaction. For every action, there's a reaction. And the sum total of all the souls in this world acting in the way that they do, and the reactions, is what we see. And the group karma means that souls who have similar tastes and similar desires tend to congregate together. That's why we get birth in a certain family, because there's some compatibility, there's certain desires that are similar. So we get together and we think we're other people's family member, but we're actually a soul. When the family members die, the soul goes on, all the souls go on to their individual destinies. So that's actually what's happening. By the laws of nature, the souls are getting together with each other according to their desires. So that's why God allows that to happen, because of our desire. He's trying to give us, by His mercy, He's giving us an opportunity to act out our desire. But at the same time, He comes periodically, or sends His pure devotees periodically, or He comes as His name, particularly in the Kali Yuga, in order to attract us and to shake us up. It's like a child when it's being naughty. The mother or father will grab the child by the shoulders and just give him a shake. Hey! Oh, and then they wake up. Then they come back to what they're supposed to be like, and they stop just ranting and raving or crying or pouting or whatever they're doing to ruin their life and the lives of those around them. So it's not that Krishna is not loving, it's not that He doesn't care. All the varieties of life are there because He cares. He cares enough to give us, to fulfill our desires. But we always have, independence. It's slight independence. We're part of Krishna, and Krishna is the Supreme Being, and we're infinitesimal beings. So we have infinitesimal parts of some of Krishna's qualities. 87% to be exact. We have infinitesimal parts of 87% of Krishna's qualities. And one of those is independence. So with that independence, we can choose. While we're under the modes of nature, especially ignorance and passion, it's not really us that's choosing. It's just the modes of nature that are moving, and we're being swept away, like in an ocean. If you're in the middle of an ocean, you just get swept away. There's nothing you can do about it. It's more powerful than you. So the modes of nature are more powerful than us. Maya dyakshana prakriti suyate sachadachana daivyesha gunamayi mama maya durataya. The modes of nature are conducted by Krishna, and therefore they're more powerful than us. And so they move us around here and there according to our desires.
I see.
But when we touch the knowledge that comes from outside of that system of actions and reactions in the material nature, when we hear from the transcendental eternal scriptures describing the spiritual world, the eternal spiritual world, where there are forms and activities and relationships and everything that goes on here goes on there, but without death, without birth, without disease, without old age, without suffering. So Krishna comes and demonstrates, shows us what the power of the spiritual energy is and what His potencies are. He actually comes and shows personally. And that becomes the subject matter for human society to remember and think about and figure out and become attracted to. The other religions in the world generally are incomplete because they have a beginning in time, and they'll have a beginning and end in time. But the eternal Sanatana Dharma, or the eternal religion of the soul, is described in the Vedic scriptures. And therefore there's a complete, concrete description of all these things and how it all fits together. So I highly recommend that you come and learn from these books with us.
I will.
And get absorbed in devotional service.
I will.
And get to know Krishna. Because I know it's clear that you want to know Krishna.
Tremendously.
Yes. So if you do that, then you will get to know Krishna. And then when you become and you're humble, this is the difference. Knowledge begins with humility. And you have this grace. You do have grace.
Thank
and
you.
You can hear. And you can hear submissively. And this is a wonderful gift. So if you use that gift properly, then Krishna will give you another gift and another gift and another gift, and finally he'll give himself. If somebody gives you a gift and you just put it in your closet because you don't really like it, you just, thanks very much, and then you put it in the closet. And the next time they come over, they don't see it. What happened to my gift? And then they realize, oh, he really didn't like it. So anyway, I don't know, maybe I'll give him another gift. Maybe not, But if you use the gift, he comes back and it's a pen and you're using it, and you say, thanks, it's a fantastic pen, thanks very much. Then he says, oh, then he'll feel good, and then he'll give you another gift. So Krishna's like that. He's the supreme gift giver.
I have another question.
Go ahead.
A few minutes ago, you talked about the three modes: the mode of passion, the mode of ignorance, and the mode of goodness. Now, this is my question. Suppose a person's passionate enough to want to create some kind of positive change in society. For example, I'll think of an individual like Steve Jobs that created the Apple and the MacBook. He's a man we could say was really in a mode of passion tremendously. So my question is...
You got that right.
My question is, can a person be in the mode of passion but still be in that mode of passion as a result of Krishna consciousness, as a result of wanting to do something really good for society? What do you think about that?
I think that everything can be used in Krishna consciousness if we learn how to use it. So if we use the things that Job gave us in Krishna consciousness, then we benefit him. His soul is somewhere, and Krishna knows where he is. And if we use the things that he gave in Krishna's service direct, because the modes are always combined together in the material world. As long as we're in the material world, we're in combinations of the modes. Even if we're in goodness, there's always a tinge of passion and a tinge of ignorance. They're always fighting for supremacy from one to another. Sometimes we feel good, sometimes we feel bewildered, sometimes we feel agitated. These are the modes of nature moving, and we don't have any control over those things. But we can get more control through the mode of goodness. If we learn the art of in being in goodness, then we can use the things, even those things that are in passion and created by the material mode of passion, and use them in Krishna consciousness. Then they're transformed. Just like if you touch a metal wire or bar with electric current, it becomes electrified and it acts differently. So if we use the things that we have, even the body, even our own bodies, even the food that we eat, you took some fruit yesterday. If this fruit is not ordinary fruit. This fruit is selected with love, cut with love and offered with love to Krishna. And when you taste it, it's something else. It's different than just ordinary fruit. It's the same energy, it's the same material energy, but it changes in quality. And if you take nothing but Krishna prasadam into your body, after a while, say 7 years or so, if you do that strictly, then the quality of your body changes. All the cells are changed and new cells are born, and only they're born from spiritual prasadam, and therefore the body changes. And as the body changes, it becomes easier to understand. It becomes easier to taste Krishna consciousness, to be desirous of the right thing. And just like Daksha, he was a big Prajapati. His duty was to propagate. He was expert in sex, that's why they call him Daksha. But Krishna came because of his austerity, and he wanted to do that. That was his service to Krishna. And because he was doing it for Krishna, he gave him this facility. Okay, go ahead. And then he gave him facility. Of course, we don't want to be like Daksha, because that will keep you in the material world. But that was his particular service at the beginning of the creation. That was needed. Krishna wanted that to happen. So that's the point. We can use everything in Krishna's service, but there's certain things that we can't. Envy. You can dovetail anger. You can fight for Krishna. Somebody's coming to, attack the deities. You jump on him. And then you're safe, because you're doing the right thing. You're passionate. You want to make money. Okay, make money for Krishna. Build a nice temple, or support the temple. Support the devotees who are, etc., etc.
Thank you, sir.
Or you can come in and become a Vaishnava and become transcendental to the modes of nature and spread Krishna consciousness and get the supreme benefit and become happy and make others people happy. Really happy. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, I'm going to stop here. Sorry. I got to go. Something I got to do. Somebody I have to talk to. It's time. Thank you very much. I dare say, very happy that you're here, and we pray that Krishna inspires you to come and join us and join this movement and help us spread Krishna consciousness, to help others who are beginning to wake up and want to know more.
Thank you, sir.
Hare Krishna. Thanks all of you. Thanks to all of you out in cyberspace. Do we have any questions in cyberspace, by the way?
There were a couple of questions, but I believe they said to allow Dare to ask its questions.
Oh, they deferred.
Yeah.
They deferred to Dare. They dared to defer. All right, we know you're a question box, so I know you got plenty, and you'll have plenty the next time too. All right, thank you so much. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow. Is Sunday, 4:30 Central Time, USA. Hare Krishna. Thank you.